So the first item of business is customary for us to review and approve the meeting minutes from last meeting. And
I have to abstain, so we don't have a quorum to vote.
Ms. Campbell will be abstaining, that's right.
Because I'm
This- Okay,
We have 4.
4 is all we need? Yeah. Okay. So I think we're okay.
You count, sorry.
If you have a,
Yeah, so with that, I'll entertain a motion.
so moved.
The motion, is there a second? Seconded, Mr. Oliver. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Seeing none, motion carries. All right, jumping right in. First and only case on the agenda is 5330 Charlotte Pike. This applicant came to us before, and we appreciated that, and good to see you back. With that, I'll let Mr. Mishu introduce the case officially.
Opening statements. Okay, opening statements to the applicant. If you're not satisfied with the decision made by the Stormwater Management Commission, you may appeal the decision by filing for writ of certiorari with the Davidson County Chancery or Circuit Court. Your appeal must be filed within 60 days of the date of the commission's decision. You're advised to seek the independent advice of legal counsel to ensure that your appeal is filed in a timely manner and that all procedural requirements have been satisfied. All right, item number 1 is case number 2025-00018-5330 Charlotte Avenue, parcel number 09114010900. The inspector is NPDS, is Council District 24, Council Member District member is Brenda Gadd. The applicant's request: 1, disturbance of the Zone 1 and Zone 2 floodway buffers. 2, continuous mowing and maintenance of portions of the floodway buffer. 3, educational buffer signage to be used instead of standard signage. The appellant is ECG Richland Creek LP, being represented by Kimley Horn. Comments: Stormwater staff. This redevelopment project serves to mitigate certain existing legacy stormwater issues, to include raising FFE of existing buildings, removing buildings within the currently mapped floodway, reduction of impervious cover, etc. Staff feels that the mitigation provided is sufficient given overall stormwater mitigation benefits created by the project. Applicant to work with Metropolitan staff to determine if a no-rise analysis is needed. Codes: no comment provided. Planning: no comment provided. Greenways: the plan to play Parks Master Plan identifies a greenway route along Richland Creek across the subject property. Greenways defers the decision of the Stormwater Management Committee.
Great, thank you.
I got a clarification question on that. There's a greenway on the western side of the creek. Did it mean across from the subject property or across it?
The last time Ms. Harrison came to us and explained, she said that there's an intent to cross Charlotte at some point, I believe. But not on this side of the property. And then, yes, it's good timing for Greenways to show up because we were just talking about you. Yeah, so, what a gift.
The comment said that there's a greenway planned across the property, but there's a trailhead on the opposite side of the creek across from the property. And so we were trying to figure out.
Yes, sir. Well, to make it as simple as possible, Greenways has no ask relevant
Okay.
to this appeal.
Okay, great.
Perfect. Would you mind turning your mic off there at David, the green button? Sorry.
Not at all.
All right. Okay. All right, with that, applicant's been here before, but you'll have 10 minutes to present your case, and I'll give you a 2-minute warning. And if there's anybody here to speak in favor or against, I'll allow them to come to the podium and have 2 minutes. And we'll close public and open up for discussion and have some back and forth for you. All right, so with that, I'll let you introduce yourselves and then start the clock.
Y'all hear me? Okay, great. Ned Munson, and appreciate y'all having us back here and having the ability to continue this conversation I think we really benefited from the feedback and guidance y'all gave us last time around, and I think we're excited to be able to show y'all how we're incorporating that. And I think we understand the gravity of the stormwater work that needs to be done here. But we're also excited about, the opportunity that we have to do that. And so just wanted to thank y'all for that. I think we might have benefited from a 1-minute, just mile-high view before we got started last time. So I'll do that today, and then John Richard will drive. But, this property has, I think, a lot of people like us have driven by it and wondered why it isn't more than it is today. And then we get into the details and we see the work that needs done. But we're to a point where we have a user who has opened up an opportunity for us in terms of project viability to do a lot of the things that I think we'd all hope could be done on this property. And that property is a grocery store. They have their own requirements. So some of these, we would have to do no matter what to allow them to be here. But obviously they, having them and the retail that would come with them allows us to address some things that are big lifts, like raising the finished floors to get out of the floodway, moving a big box culvert that's in the middle of the site that goes underneath the building today, and then giving back a lot of the space that's impervious today to green space. And I'm gonna let John Richard talk a little bit more about that, but I think the general gist is that to make this project feasible, we're able to do a lot of this work, but we need to work with the existing footprint that's there today as much as we can, rather than scrape it all and redo it. I think there'd be, it would be a while before conditions would improve to a point where we could be looking at a ground up redevelopment opportunity instead of a renovation like we're contemplating today. So that's why we're here in front of you today. Appreciate the opportunity to speak to it. I'll turn it over to you.
Yes, good morning. Thanks for having us back. John Richard Patterson with Kimley Horn. So I'm just going to recap it. There's a few things that have changed, and so I'll go through those as I recap it. And hopefully our goal was to have a bigger picture this time. We may have gone through it too fast last time. So today we're proposing the renovation of existing shopping center, which sits along Richland Creek, partially within the floodway and floodplain. The proposed renovation includes exterior and interior building improvements. This is done by removing roughly 46,900 square feet of building, renovating the parking lot, not just with milling and resurfacing, but we're having to take the asphalt out, lower it to balance floodplain so that we're not impacting any neighbors or our site. We're installing new public sidewalks, cleaning those up, introducing new green space and landscaping, and then also the relocation of the large diameter box culvert, which currently sits under a building. So getting that back out to where it's easily maintained, improving the master drainage system. To recap the variances, so floodway buffer encroachments to zone 1 and zone 2, continuous mowing and maintenance in the green space that's being proposed within the buffer, with the exception of some areas that we're proposing to let grow naturally, and then modification of buffer signage as appropriate. And then also discussions with Greenway and Metro Water about educational signage along the buffer, along the Charlotte Pike sidewalk, explaining the benefits of that green space. I'm gonna jump ahead. So real quick, just so you can see the high level that we were talking about, this is existing shopping center today. The only green space on the site is the slope that goes down to the ordinary high water mark from our pavement down. So again, the site sits mainly in floodplain. So once that water gets up in here, it gets trapped in the elbow of the site, which we're chopping up now, which gives it another point of relief. So to follow that, here's the FEMA flood map. Base flood elevations fall from 430 to 426 across the site. We've studied that to figure out exactly where our finished floors need to be, which is shown in our grading plans. So jumping back up to the site improvements real quick. So there's a 12% increase in total pervious area within the whole property boundary. A portion of that boundary goes to the center of the bank. So the existing green space, again, is just the bank of the stream. It's a 29% increase in just the floodway alone. Enhanced landscaping includes 42 new canopy trees, 56 understory trees, 139 shrubs, again, to a site that barely has anything. Removal of the buildings, again, 26,900 square feet. 6,000 of that is in the floodway. A portion of that is a building that overhangs the bank today at a retaining wall. Relocation of the existing large diameter public storm sewer, and then also we're raising the finished floors to get out of the floodplain to meet code, but then also lowering our parking lot to help balance that. So here's the site plan that shows the improvements that we were discussing. This site plan also shows the constraints on this site, which we can get to in just a second with, or I guess the hardships are listed here. So everything that's in yellow is large diameter, either storm sewer, sanitary sewer, or water. And then we have our buffers listed on the right. And then across the top north property line right here, you can't see the back of the building because the interstate overhangs it. So here's the pre versus post map for existing conditions versus what's proposed. This is the only difference between this and last time is I've made it clearer to see where the green space is being added. And then we realized that part of Richland Creek was not being shown as green, which was the existing stream bank. But ultimately, again, there's those numbers that I was talking about. You have with percentages, you got a 12% decrease in building for the existing site area, a 12% increase in pervious area, and then a 29% increase in pervious area within the floodway. Just highlighting our mitigation efforts. So again, removing buildings, going back, we are removing a center portion of the building, which breaks it into two buildings where it's one today. That allows us to reroute that large diameter storm culvert and better circulation to the site. It's also, if this site is to flood, it's another relief valve for water to drain out of the site versus getting stuck in that elbow. But here highlighting the existing building and proximity to the stream in red on the left that we're getting rid of. And then on the right, you can see the buildings outlined in red, which are now being replaced with pavement, with green space where pavement was to the west of it. And then the building that was overhanging the stream is now being removed and replaced with buffer. Here, just highlighting the buffer that the impervious area that we are installing specifically along that floodway, again, 12% increase. We heard what you said, Nathan, last time about, we met with Rebecca and went through our plantings and we proposed everything that's native based on Metro's regs or checklists. And we've also increased the mix that's proposed to about 6 different types of trees so that if one species doesn't like the winter, you're not wiping out your buffer. So we heard y'all there. We hope that helps with this buffer. The one thing we did ask here is maintenance along the west side and the frontage of the building, but in the back we are proposing that there's a more of a native seed mix that can just overgrow behind the truck docks, just improving that area back there. But it's, again, it's not something that we have to maintain because it's hidden from the use. Also along this side, there was a request about trying to limit the amount of parking along that buffer. We've looked at it, and just because of the natural use of the site and the need for parking to service those tenants, we kept the parking, but we have reduced it to minimum square footages and all compact, so that did pick up at least 2 more feet of green space in front of those parking stalls. So the small things matter. And then there was also questions last time about how this buffer relates to the stream, and so we did provide this cross sections, and hopefully this provides it, and on the left in the black is the sections of retaining walls, and so about half of that is retaining wall, and then half of it is sloped down to the stream, and so it's 13 feet down to the bottom of the stream bank, and so this whole buffer will be sitting up at the top of that bank and in flatter areas. So happy to discuss that further if you have questions. And then finally, this is a large cost. I don't want to ask Ned how much it is, but to relocate this equivalent of an 84-inch storm culvert for outside the building footprint for better maintenance and just overall storm drainage for this basin. And then the rest of the presentation is just the plans in large screen so that we can flip back and forth between those if you would like to have further conversations on it. So again, from an overall standpoint, what we're allowed to do with this property is limited because of the easements, the interstate, the buffers, and so we believe that we're improving this site as best we can while also making it feasible to have the dollars to redo it. And so, do you have anything else to add?
No, that's it.
Okay, thank you.
Great, thank you. Closing the applicant's presentation, opening up for public comment. Is there anybody here to speak in favor or against? Okay, all right, seeing none. Mr. Mishu, I know we had some comments last time. Anything else to discuss?
No, just a reminder, we had a gentleman come in to speak against this meeting, and he had a long letter that his wonderful wife prepared for him, and he gave an eloquent speech about the no-rise, which is something that staff said that we would be discussing with the applicant.
Great, thanks for the reminder. Okay. Also, from a public standpoint, I failed to recognize a council person in our audience. Were you here to speak for another case?
I'm here because I am the vice chair for the Transportation and Infrastructure Committee. And so CM, Evan Siegel, and I decided that one or the other of us will try and attend these meetings.
Great, okay, thank you. Happy to have you. All right. With that, I'll close public comment and open it up to the commission for discussion. I will open it up and say I appreciate the applicant's work on this project. I know it's been challenging, and making use of existing conditions and making them better from a stormwater perspective is always something that we like to see, and I know there's a lot of cost here in some of the components that you've proposed, so I want to thank you for a well put together presentation. So I am disappointed that the Sir Pizza will be cut out, but that's a personal item.
Secondary to Great Escape, I've had bodily harm threatened on that. We're working on Great Escape somewhere in that corner if we can.
That's great.
So, I was going to say, we're not Sir Pizza we can work with.
I appreciate that effort. Okay, thank you.
But personally, I feel a lot better about the retaining wall in the creek and how it all functions, and just the additional information is really, really helpful and helps paint a much clearer picture about how it will end up being. Because that was a lot of my pause last time. It's just understanding, is it feasible and what's going in. And so thank you all for pulling that together.
In the sections that you provided, can you just confirm where you are noting to maintain? You mentioned you want to maintain kind of a certain area of that, the bottom, and maybe on that plan, just kind of explain where you were.
Yes, so if you're looking at the landscape plan, and I wish I had a pointer. So the lighter green, which is the southern and the eastern boundary, is proposed just to be sod. And then as you get back to the loading dock, there's a darker green. Mm-hmm. And that's the area that is that natural riparian seed mix that's proposed just to allow that growth back there. And so we were proposing to maintain everything along the west side in front. And so we would place the, no maintenance signage back there at the back near the truck dock. It's called out on the site plan. So back there at the rear of the truck dock, and then we could do the educational signage based on conversations with Greenway along the sidewalk where the Greenway on the west side of the stream dumps out. So again, the trees aren't great when you're trying to advertise restaurants and retailers there, but we understand the importance. So if we could at least maintain the green space below the trees there, that would be the preference. But
Okay. I wanted to note that I was absent last meeting, but I did watch the video. So can you speak a little bit? I want to get a better understanding of the pervious that's being added. Are you only talking about the additional green space, like where you're removing asphalt and building? Or is there pervious pavement being included as part of the site plan?
there's not pervious pavement being included right now. So everything that we talk about additional pervious is green space that's being added within islands and within the buffer. And this plan that's up on the screen right now is a little misleading because it shows the green stopping and then there's another 10, 15 feet to the property line. That's also, that's existing green space. So the pervious pavement in the form of water quality doesn't really function in the floodplain, but there is so we haven't proposed that right now.
Right, I was wondering about some of the parking stalls, maybe, around like that kind of northern central island or something, just to kind of help with more infiltration at a centralized location in the middle of all the pavement.
Some additional, sorry, I wasn't necessarily following where.
So for some of the parking stalls, kind of in the top center,
Okay.
did you all consider pervious just to help with infiltration, so less is going directly into like stormwater collection?
I can speak to, in general, there's openness to pervious spaces. I think a lot of the conversation has gone to, well, when you're in the buffer or floodway, the conversation is focused on those areas. I think in general, there's an openness to a solution like that in an area where there's less concern about floodway or buffers. So the short answer is no. I think that if that is part of the solution, we're open to that. But going back to your question, the focus has been on that southwestern corner, and that's been the answer.
But if you go to page 10 on the packet, it's the FEMA map. I mean, the whole, everything's in the floodplain.
Yeah,
It'd be a very little space if they're building it up, but I know they're regrading for drainage.
it was just a thought.
All right, any other comments? Trey, Captain Trey.
No, I just think losing the square footage is and the rentable area and all that's a great commitment to the project. And it turns it a whole lot better than it is now, which it could stay.
Mm-hmm.
So this plan's much improved over the last presentation, so support it.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
if I might make one point on the last element he spoke about regarding some of the landscape. If you could go back. I just wanted to note for the record that part of the buffer relates to maintaining sight lines, pulling out into roadways, so there is an allowance, and that has to meet certain NDOT specs. So while that depicts trees hanging out, that would be part of the evaluation, and it might not be that robust coming out, but we do work with them and maintain sight lines for safe access onto roadways.
That's a good point. Thank you for clarifying.
Yeah, and I think to build on my question earlier just a little bit, first I do, I kind of jumped right in and probably should have started a little broader at the beginning, but I do appreciate really hearing some of the feedback and coming back with more information that kind of just better explains what's happening so that we can understand it. And just the approach overall, we really do appreciate that. And just the overall working to try and find the best solution to these really tough sites. So thank you for doing that. And then I understand what you're saying about the maintenance aspect. I would ask that maybe you work with staff to find something that is low within that zone, that is not just turf, that you're not having to really mow, and because then there's just all the things that come with it. Then you want to fertilize it and manage it to where it looks really lush and green all the time and those sorts of things. And there may be some alternatives that keep things lower, to maintain the sight lines that you're trying to keep. Obviously, you're going to have to meet the requirements that Mr. Hunt said, but there may be a better solution that gives the stream and just the things that we try and focus on with that proximity, especially with it being in the floodway, that gives a more beneficial solution while still trying to meet some of those goals that you kind of highlighted. So I would encourage you to maybe dig into that detail a little bit more. And just as we mentioned last time too, as you're removing that pavement from the floodway, which I think is fantastic, just ensuring that there is the right infrastructure in the ground, soil-wise, that just allows those plantings to really do what they need to do and be long-lived buffers and really do what they need to. So I appreciate the work and the diversity to really look at this in a little bit more detail, and I think it's definitely a much better solution.
We don't need to condition it for the no-rise, do we? Because that's part of your standard approval.
You don't need to condition it. That's something that we will do at staff level.
Make a motion to approve.
Great. We have a motion. We have a second. Seconded. Any other discussion? Okay. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Seeing none, motion carries. Thanks for the good presentation. Appreciate it. Yeah.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
Can I make maybe just a general statement for the
Please.
record? Obviously, throughout Metro, there were a lot of properties developed prior to our stormwater regulation, and the position that we have normally taken is that we do have some regs, like redevelopment, that pull this project into the development, where we're trying to make back incremental gains to get those sites more in accord with our regulations. A lot of times it's impossible for them to meet. And I just wanted to make the point that this project, by nature of what it was doing, on a lot of variance cases would have been considered mitigation. The raising elevations up, pulling areas out of the floodway. So I just, as a general comment, wanted to say, I think from a policy standpoint and where we're trying to go with stormwater management, this is a good example of a site that is making it better to make up for when sites were developed prior to our stormwater regulations. So I know there always has to be a give and take and a discussion of several things, but I just wanted to be clear this was to some degree consistent of what we look for. And we get a lot of gains by redevelopment within the community, stormwater-wise, and I thought this was a good example of that. But I did want to wait to say that until after the vote.
I think that's a fantastic point. It's not only from a stormwater standpoint, from a building reuse standpoint and environmental standpoint, just overall, I appreciate this approach, and hopefully we see more of it come to this commission, so.
Well, Richland Creek from Harding to the Cumberland has been really littered, and it's had a hard life.
Yeah.
It's now with all the shopping carts being removed from Kroger, and hopefully it starts to live a better life.
That's right.
Projects like this, and maybe there'll be a few more.
Yeah, I agree.
May I add as well?
Please.
Very timely that we had a complaint recently. Driving wise, it's a little bit ways, but it's in the same watershed. But so as the boat rose is not far from the site that we recently got a complaint saying that this heavily developed property, which was developed prior to any water quality regulations, they're constantly seeing cups and trash being entered into the streams. And it's a lot of times it's because there's no water quality provisions because this was developed prior to water quality requirements. So anytime you have something that was maybe developed prior to the 99 regulations, that's when the water quality really kicked in. So anything that was developed prior to 99 that gets redeveloped afterwards and they start to do water quality are very huge wins, because now we're converting parking lots and buildings to something that will have treatment versus having no treatment, so.
Yeah, and I would just add to that, we tried to do some very rough calculations, especially since putting in our low-impact development regulations. And when those go into sites that were previously developed, the amount of rainfall that we're keeping from being discharged to our system is billions with a B annually at this point. So again, incremental, we're just looking to get benefits over time. And a lot of times these redevelopment projects are integral in that.
Love hearing all that. This is smart growth strategies for Nashville, and I'm glad that Metrowater is taking the lead role in that as they usually do. So, all right, with that was our last case for the agenda. Is any other business to discuss? Mr. Nishu?
I really wish I had an update on how many cases there are going to be last time. I don't really see anything as far as new cases logged in. But I don't know if something that was previously deferred will come back. We may not have a meeting next time, but don't get too excited. Let's wait for Logan to come back and verify, unless Michael knows.
I think there will be one rehearing that it was deferred, that due to some logistical issues needed to be deferred one more month.
That's
So
right.
that's on tap for next time.
Green Hills.
That's right.
Okay. All right. All good? Okay. All right, folks. Meeting adjourned.
This has been a service of the Metro Nashville Network. If you would like to see this presentation again, or for more information on this and other programs, visit nashville.gov.